The city of Makuta no longer sleeps beneath the hum of drums. Once, the air trembled with rhythm, the heartbeat of ancestors echoing from wooden skins stretched under moonlight. But now, the sound that rules Makuta is the buzz of machines. The sharp clicks of fingers dancing on glowing screens. The people walk fast, their eyes fixed not on the road before them but on the worlds inside their phones. They no longer bow to the elders who taught them stories, but to strangers who live behind glass, influencers, merchants of emotion, sellers of sorrow. Amidst this forest of steel towers and concrete roots, a story begins, the story of a girl who traded truth for attention. Zuri Embol was born where the sun met the tin roofs, in a neighborhood that smelled of dust and fried plantains. Her eyes were sharp eyes that saw hunger, both in her belly and her heart. She used to help her mother grind herbs, her small hands stained green from crushed leaves. But those same hands now scroll endlessly through the lives of others, women her age posing beside cars they did not buy, holding trophies they did not earn. Zuri's lips press together as she whispers, "Why them? And not me?" Her cracked phone reflects her face, half lit by ambition, half shadowed by envy. Mama Thandi still works in the same small hut that smells of sage and rainwater. She ties her headscarf tight as she crushes roots with a stone, humming a song the ancestors once sang for strength. Customers come to her not only for medicine but for words that heal. "Drink this before sunrise," she tells a woman clutching her chest, "and tell the ancestors you still believe in morning." But when the hut grows quiet, Mama Thandi's gaze drifts to her daughter. Zuri sits outside, scrolling her phone, lost in a glowing trance. "Child," Mama Thandi calls softly, "when will you learn that truth feeds longer than lies?" Zuri sighs, not looking up. "Mama, your roots can't pay rent. Wisdom can't buy a new dress." The mother's shoulders sag. "And lies, Zuri? What will they buy, peace or shame?" Zuri only shrugs, her eyes still on the screen. Down the street, in a small workshop carved from clay and sawdust, Jabari hums as he sends the edge of a wooden chair. His hands move with patience, slow, firm, sure. He looks out through the window and sees Zuri pass by, her laughter echoing with the sound of young people who no longer believe in patience. Jabari whispers to himself, "Even the brightest star forgets the sky when it chases its reflection." His friend chuckles nearby. "Still dreaming of her, Jabari?" He smiles sadly. "Dreams don't fade. They just wait for the right dawn." He carves her name in the corner of the chair, Zuri, meaning beautiful, and blows the dust away, as though sending a prayer to the wind. The nights of Makuta are no longer quiet. Every window glows. Every silence buzzes. People no longer gather around fires to tell stories. They gather around screens to watch strangers cry and laugh. Empathy has become a currency, and pain a performance. The influencers of Makuta are the new griots, but their stories carry no wisdom, only spectacle. Their words are honey laced with poison, and the world drinks eagerly. Zuri watches them and feels something stirring in her, not guilt, not fear, but a dangerous idea. A thought blooms like a shadowed flower. If suffering can buy love, maybe I can sell mine. The spirits of truth, old, patient, and silent, begin to stir. Somewhere in the distance, a drum beats once faintly. The city does not hear it, but the ancestors do, and they wait. The rain tapped a restless rhythm on the rusted roof of Zuri's room, each drop like the whispered drumbeat of ancestors warning of what was to come. Her cracked phone flickered, bringing to life a young woman with bare shoulders and a head completely smooth, her eyes brave and unyielding. "I did it," the girl said, her voice trembling but strong. "I survived." The comments cascaded like a river breaking its banks. Hearts, prayers, gifts, money, blessings poured from strangers who had never met her. Zuri leaned closer, the glow of the screen reflecting in her wide eyes. Her heart thumped, first with awe, then with a sour sting of envy. She swallowed, the taste bitter. A slow smile crept across her face, one that was not joy, not relief, but a dangerous sort of curiosity. An idea sweet and forbidden, like fruit dangling too close to fire, began to take root in her mind. The morning broke with a pale, hesitant light, cutting through the small room as Zuri lifted the razor trembling in her hands. She ran her fingers over her hair one last time, then pressed the blade to her scalp. The strands fell like golden dust onto the floor. Cameras captured every motion. She filmed herself in a trembling video, softly whispering, "Today begins my journey, my treatment." Her tears glistened under the dim sunlight, though they came from practice, not pain.by midday. Her posts had gone viral. Donations poured in as if the city itself were offering tribute. Prayers flew in from every corner of Makuta. Strangers spoke her name with reverence, imagining her courage. Mama Thandi's herbs sat untouched on the shelves. The potions and roots ignored in favor of glowing filters and staged agony outside. The wind carried the whispers of ancestors. A quiet warning drowned beneath the hum of digital applause. Mama Thandi watched from the doorway, her hands pressed to her chest as her daughter's fame grew. Her eyes traced the room, the mirror wobbled, the family goat refused its meal, and the river murmured in restless dreams beyond the village. "Zuri," she called, voice steady but edged with sorrow. "The truth is a drum, it always finds its rhythm." Zuri laughed, the sound sharp and unfamiliar. "Mama, you speak as if your roots could teach me life. The world has changed. Look, donations. Hearts, love." She waved at her phone, her idolized audience glowing back at her from the screen. The mother sighed, seeing the spirits grow uneasy, their warnings unheard and unheeded. The rhythm of honesty drowned beneath the digital tide. Later that day, a soft knock echoed against the door. Jabari stepped in, carrying wildflowers tied with a ribbon. His eyes, heavy with worry, searched hers. "Zuri," he said quietly, "are you okay? You look different." She smiled faintly, hiding behind her mask of sickness. "I'm fine, Jabari. This is my fight, my story. Don't worry." He placed the flowers down and looked around the room, noticing shadows stretching unnaturally across the walls, creeping toward corners that felt darker than they should. Outside the window, a black crow caught thrice a single, sharp warning, loud as the drum of fate. Jabari's hand trembled as he touched hers. I just want you to be safe. Don't lose yourself in this." Zuri pulled away slightly, tasting the honey of power that flowed with every chime of her phone. The ancestors stirred in the wind beyond the city, silent, patient, waiting. The seed of deceit had been planted, and like every seed sown in false soil, it would one day demand its harvest. The crow's wings flapped once, and the shadows in the corners deepened. The drums of truth, quiet for now, began their slow, steady beat. Zuri's name echoed through Makuta City as if the streets themselves had learned it overnight. The girl who once counted borrowed coins now counted blessings in bundles. Messages poured in from strangers, prayers floated on digital winds, and gifts arrived faster than her hands could open them. They called her the brave flower of Makuta, praising the strength they believed divine. Unaware that the petals they admired were coated in false fragrance, she smiled at the screen, her shaved head glinting under the warm glow of the lamp, a crown of deception. The followers saw courage, but beneath the petals, rot had begun. Every lie she told was a seed of corruption, small but growing. She pressed her hands together in mock prayer, eyes bright with pretense, while the shadows in the corners of her room whispered truths she refused to hear. Each day she performed for the unseen crowd. Hospital selfies, trembling hands, whispered prayers for survival, all recorded, all staged. Brands sent gifts, perfumes, phones, and small fortunes wrapped in glossy boxes. Strangers sent money, each coin a testimony of their faith in her suffering. She spoke of pain she had never known, wore her boldness like armor, and bowed to the applause of invisible throngs. Yet, in the quiet corners of her home, the ancestors watched. The wind carried soft murmurs through the cracks of the ceiling. The old spirits shook their heads, silent and disappointed, but patient, like elders watching a child teeter on the edge of a cliff. The mud house, once humble and fragrant with herbal roots, had transformed. Polished furniture gleamed under the noon sun. Imported perfumes mingled with the scent of crushed leaves that Mama Thandi still kept untouched. Laughter echoed loudly in rooms that once held whispered prayers. Neighbors peeked through windows, whispers of blessing mingling with envy. Mama Thandy's heart grew heavy. She moved silently through the house, sensing the air change with each coin Zuri earned. For every note counted in deceit, a spirit wept in truth. She folded her hands before the ancestral shrine, the flames of the candles reflecting in her eyes. "Oh, ancestors," she murmured, voice trembling, "guide my child before the shadows take her entirely." Later, she approached Zuri gently, kneeling to meet her daughter's gaze. "Child," she said softly, "the eyes of those who have walked before us see beyond walls and lights. They know the lies you dress as courage." Zuri laughed lightly, a sound sharp with defiance. "Morality doesn't feed the hungry, Mama. Don't speak to me of shadows when the world rewards action." The words cut through Mama Thandy's spirit like a cold wind through the reeds along the river. She fell silent, her palms pressing against her chest, feeling the weight of both love and sorrow. Across town, Jabari watched quietly from the workshop window. His hands carved the curves of a wooden charm meant for healing, each stroke a prayer for the girl he still loved. He donated from his savings to her cause, trusting in her bravery, unaware of the deception that fueled it. But at night, fire haunted his dreams. He saw roses turn to ash, petals consumed in flames, their beauty crumbling to black dust. His heart whispered warnings his mind could not yet hear, cautioning that the sweetness of fame often hides the bitter seeds of ruin. Outside, the city thrummed with life, the digital hum masking the quiet beat of truth. And somewhere, just beyond the glowing screens, the ancestors waited, patient, silent, watching. Under the great baobab tree at the heart of Makuta, the village gathered. Children's small hands trembled as they lit candles, their faces glowing with hope. Elders poured libations, whispering prayers into the wind, calling upon the ancestors to watch over Zuri's battle. The songs rose and fell, weaving a tapestry of faith, pure and unbroken, yet tragically misdirected. Zuri sat alone in her room, phone in hand, scrolling through messages of love, blessings, and donations. Her fingers hovered over the screen as a flicker of guilt brushed her chest. A small voice whispered, "They believe you are suffering." But she buried it quickly beneath a smile, posting a new video, feigning courage, soaking in applause that masked her conscience. A message appeared from Amina, a woman whose scalp bore the scars of true survival, whose eyes held fire and honesty. "Zuri," she wrote softly, "let us share our journey together. You do not have to be alone." Zuri froze. The message weighed heavy, a stone of truth threatening to sink her empire built on lies. She closed her eyes and whispered, "How can I stand beside truth when mine is a throne of shadows?" That night, she lay awake, staring at her reflection in the dim ring light, pale and hollow-eyed. Shadows crept across the walls as if the room itself knew of her deceit. Her fingers trembled as she typed, "Only 3 months left." The post went live, and the flood returned prayers, coins, messages of sympathy. But each comment carried a sting, a curse disguised as comfort, reminding her that deceit never sleeps. Every morning she stared into the mirror and saw the mask she wore, flawless, yet empty. It clung to her skin, shaping her laughter and hollowing her eyes. She tried to speak, but her voice echoed with ghosts. The elders had warned, an African belief whispered through her mind, wear a false face too long, and the spirit beneath begins to fade. Then, one morning, the crow arrived, black as midnight. It perched just outside her window, still and sharp. Its caws rang thrice, each one a drumbeat of truth, shaking the walls of her room and rattling her heart. Mama Thandy's voice trembled. Behind her, soft and heavy with forewarning, "The ancestors are sending warnings." Zuri pressed her hands against the glass and whispered, "Not now." She shut the window, turning the volume of her phone higher, drowning out Destiny's knock, even as the crow's eyes followed her every move, patient and unyielding, waiting for the day the mask would fall. Mama Thandy sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, the cowrie shells spilling across the mat like scattered stars. Her hands shook as she let them fall, one by one, listening to the whisper of fate in their clatter. When the shells settled, A pattern appeared, blood red, fire-shaped, a warning written by forces older than the city's steel towers. "Zuri, my child," Mama Thandi said, voice trembling, "stop this path. The spirits speak of loss. The debt of lies is heavy, and fate comes to collect." She pressed her palms to her daughter's hands, eyes glistening with fear. Zuri pulled away and laughed, bitter and sharp, a sound that sliced through the quiet room. "Mama, the ancestors don't use Wi-Fi," she sneered, waving her phone like a banner of triumph. Tears fell from Mama Thandi's eyes. She sank into silence, the spirits of her ancestors retreating into the shadows of the room. The house seemed colder, the air heavier, as though the unseen world had drawn back its patience. That night, under the waning moon, unease crept into Zuri's world. Her phone glitched midstream, freezing her face in a haunting, unnatural smile. Followers whispered of shadows flickering behind her, shapes that moved in corners the camera could not catch. Dreams of crows landed on her chest, black wings pressing her to wakefulness, cawing warnings she could not ignore. The ancestors' drum began to beat softly, a rhythm felt beneath her fame but unseen by her eyes. The web she had spun tightened, and even the cleverest spider trembled at the first stirrings of danger. Small cracks appeared in Zuri's online kingdom. Comments questioned the same hospital room appearing in every video, bandages always pristine, her face always pale but flawless. In the marketplace, women murmured over baskets of maize, voices sharp as grinding stones. "Is the girl truly sick, or is she sick with greed?" Whispers carried through the air, unseen but felt, and Zuri's once sacred name began to tremble under their weight. A young journalist named Amara appeared next, a spear in hand, though it was her pen that cut deepest. She moved quietly through clinics and hospitals, asking pointed questions that echoed in sterile corridors. Each receipt, each prescription revealed another stitch in a tapestry of lies. Her words did not attack Zuri's body, but pierced a veil of deceit that had grown so thick it nearly touched the sky. Across Makuta, screens flickered with doubt. Anonymous voices exposed doctored photos, falsified medical reports, and fake testimonials. What had once been admiration and prayers transformed into scorn and ridicule. The same crowd that had worshipped Zuri's strength now feasted on her unraveling, their clicks and comments pounding like drums of justice in the digital marketplace. The city, once dazzled by her performance, began to listen to the quiet beat of truth. The flower of Makuta, once brave in appearance, trembled beneath the shadows it had never seen. The screens exploded with truth. Headlines scrolled like fire across every device. "Zuri the Brave exposed." Comments pierced sharper than spears. "You used our hearts for coins." The applause that once lifted her now tore through her soul. Sponsors vanished overnight, leaving promises empty as wind. Followers turned their backs, their prayers and gifts replaced with scornful laughter and digital curses. The rhythm of notifications, once a steady drum of adoration, became a cacophony of judgment. Her ring light flickered and died, plunging the carefully curated stage into darkness. Zuri sat frozen, the empire of her lies crumbling around her, each shadow in the room a silent witness to her betrayal. In the quiet of Makuta village, Mama Thandi heard the news. Her knees gave way, and she collapsed onto the earthen floor. Neighbors whispered that shame had crept into the home of the healer. Tears fell freely, wetting her hands and mud-smeared clothes. "My child," she moaned. "My child." She grieved not only the crime committed but the daughter she could no longer recognize. Her cries stretched into the night, echoing like the lamentations of ancestors. A mother's sorrow too vast for fame to touch. Jabari came, carrying flowers already drooping under the weight of grief. He entered the dim room where Zuri sat in silence, makeup streaked by tears, her eyes hollow yet aware. He knelt before her, voice soft and steady. "I did not come to judge," he said, "but to mourn the woman you were." Silence filled the space between them, a quiet monument to love that had withered into sorrow. The weight of betrayal hung thicker than any wall, yet in his presence, a small ember of care remained. A black crow landed on the windowsill, still and commanding. It cawed 3 times, each note hammering into her chest like a drumbeat of truth. In the stories Mama Thandi had whispered, the crow was a messenger of the ancestors, heralding honesty even when it brought pain. The bird stepped inside without hesitation, wings brushing the air, as if sent to remind her that no lie escapes the eyes of the unseen. Clouds swelled above the city, dark and swollen, and rain began to fall, tapping and drumming on the tin roofs. Each drop seemed to wash away a layer of her falsehood foundation, filter, performance until only Razuri remained. She stood under the deluge, shivering, drenched, and whispered to the storm, "May the heavens see me." No one answered. Yet the rain became a baptism, cruel yet merciful, stripping away the trappings of deception. In the rhythm of the storm, she felt the first sting of truth settle in her bones. The night carried a heavy silence, broken only by the whisper of wind through Makuta's palm trees. Zuri's sleep was restless, pulled into a dream both vast and cold. She found herself kneeling in a circle of ancestors, their faces stern, eyes glimmering with the light of judgment. Each held a glowing smartphone, replaying her lies like a drumbeat that would not cease. Fake tears, staged prayers, moments of deception that had danced before the world. "You sought mercy without honesty," intoned one elder spirit, voice echoing like thunder through her chest. Zuri fell to her knees, trembling, the weight of her deceit pressing upon her like the storm outside. The thunder rolled, shaking the dream realm itself. She reached for forgiveness, but the ancestors turned their gaze away, leaving her alone. In darkness judged, yet not destroyed, a lesson still unfolding. In the days that followed, Zuri's body grew cold, her mind aflame with visions of shame. Every cough, every shiver, reminded her that the illness she had faked now found life in her soul. Villagers whispered of the curse of truth, a sickness that no doctor could heal. Her followers vanished, leaving only the ghosts of conscience to haunt the halls of her mind. Rain fell endlessly, hammering on rooftops and streets, as the black crow perched unwavering at her window. I have summoned what I do not deserve," Zuri whispered, clutching her chest. Her empire of sympathy lay in ruins, and only truth remained to bury the crown she had once worn. Months passed. The shrill ping of notifications no longer awakened her. Only the crow's occasional caw and the rooster's crow marked the passing of time. In her small village hut, silence became her companion. The world that once adored her had forgotten her name, and for the first time, that absence brought peace. Villagers watched as she fetched water from the well and tended the goats, their voices soft, their eyes gentle. "The girl who fooled the world is learning to live again," they murmured, understanding that time teaches not through punishment, but through the slow rhythm of living. Zuri moved among them with humility, her pride replaced by quiet understanding, walking softly as if the earth itself had lessons to impart. Her hands, once tools of deception, now healed and comforted. At the village clinic, she measured herbs, bandaged wounds, and soothed crying children. Mothers whispered blessings over her work, grateful for care offered without performance. The healer's hut became her new stage, where applause came only in sighs of relief and quiet gratitude. And Zuri finally learned the rhythm of honesty, the weight of truth, and the peace of hands that heal rather than pretend. The evening air was cool and still as Zuri unlocked her old phone. The screen, once a stage for lies, now glowed softly with purpose. She scrolled carefully, her fingers hovering over the camera, then began to speak, her voice steady and honest. "Meet Amina," she said, pointing to a young mother battling illness with courage. "This is her story, and it is real." She posted images of hands holding medicine, eyes shining through pain, and messages of resilience. Comments came slowly, each one sincere, encouragement, thanks, and quiet admiration. The applause was small, but it was truthful. For the first time, Zuri felt the weight of honesty instead of the burden of deceit. By the fire that evening, Mama Thani watched her daughter, eyes glistening with both sorrow and pride. Zuri knelt beside her, the posture of a child returning to learn. Her mother placed a warm hand atop her head. "The child who strayed from the fire may return, but her shadow will always remember the cold, Mama Thandi murmured. Zuri bowed her head, absorbing the truth of those words. Forgiveness did not erase the past. It carried the weight of lessons learned. At dawn, she walked to the riverbank. The reflections there held no filters, only raw, honest light. With trembling hands, she dug a small pit and buried her old phone, a relic of the mask she had worn. 3 silver coins followed, sinking into the flowing water. For the spirits of truth, she whispered, her voice almost lost in the river's gentle rush. Overhead, the black crow circled once, then soared toward the horizon, its cry fading into the morning sky. With Jabari at her side, she rebuilt her mother's herbal shop. The air filled with the scent of crushed leaves, medicine for the body and honesty for the soul. Villagers came, not to gawk, but to heal. Truth and health grow from the same soil, Jabari said quietly. Zuri smiled, feeling the first warmth of peace in months. The narrator's voice, calm and wise, filled the space around them. In a world where lies travel faster than light, truth still walks slow, but eternal. The mask may win followers, but only the face wins peace. Zuri knelt at the river one last time, washing her hands in the cool water. Children laughed nearby, their voices carrying over the gold-streaked current of morning sun. She pretended to have cancer to swindle the world, but in losing the world, she found her soul.